The sun dipped below the horizon, and the neon lights of Chicago flickered to life. What was supposed to be a warm college reunion was slowly fermenting into an unprecedented crisis, fueled by high-end bourbon and buried history. Amidst the clinking of crystal glasses, the gaze of the former campus golden boy cut through the room like a blade, locking onto him with surgical precision. That look, full of greed and a sense of entitlement, wasn't a nostalgic reflection on old friendship. It was the blatant eyeing of a prize he intended to steal. I, Logan Reed, once thought our romantic wedding had put a perfect period on the story of my wife and me. However, as a cold sense of dread suddenly descended, something long dormant within me stirred. The eye of insight. It was a gift I'd suppressed for years, an intuitive hyper-awareness that allowed me to see through the hypocrisy and hidden agendas of others. It showed me the truth. There are always those in this world looking to snatch away the treasures you hold dear. Tonight, I would use my wits as my sword to protect the woman I loved. The room was buzzing, not with laughter, but with the silent opening salvos of a war. "Logan, what are you looking at?" Chloe Summers asked softly, her fingertips grazing the back of my hand. I withdrew my gaze with a subtle shift and offered my wife a reassuring smile. The curve of my lips was slight, but my eyes couldn't help but flicker toward a figure not far away. Julian Sterling, the former king of campus, now dressed in a bespoke suit that screamed tech mogul. His gaze was like an invisible ray, piercing through the crowd to land squarely on the side of Chloe's face. It had been years since we'd all been together. Inside the dimly lit, wood-paneled private lounge, faces once youthful were now etched with the lines of different lives. The noise, the toasts, and the laughter, laced with vanity and sycophancy, wove a shallow, glittering net. Chloe was wearing a pale, blue silk dress today, one that elegantly traced her silhouette. Pinned to her lapel was a silver ginkgo leaf brooch I'd given her. It shimmered under the ambient lights. She sat quietly by my side, occasionally whispering with an old friend, a gentle smile gracing her face. "Chloe, it's been too long." Julian finally approached with a leisurely stride, a glass of Cabernet in hand, and a perfectly practiced smile. His eyes skipped over me, stopping on Chloe's face with a scrutiny that was barely disguised. "Julian," Chloe said with a slight nod, her tone polite but distant. "You're still as beautiful as ever." Julian raised his glass to his lips, taking a slow sip, his eyes never leaving her. It wasn't the look of a friend admiring an old acquaintance. It was the look of a predator marking its prey, naked, unadulterated possessiveness. A heavy knot of discomfort tightened in my chest. "How have you been, Julian?" I cut in, attempting to draw his fire. Julian's eyes finally shifted to me, a flicker of disdain buried deep in his pupils. He masked it quickly with a mask of enthusiasm. "Logan, I heard you're still at the same firm. Management track by now, I assume." The way he emphasized heard and management was a calculated jab, implying that I had stagnated while he had soared. I knew the reality. Julian's company was a multinational giant, while I was a mid-level director at a mid-sized tech firm. The gap was obvious. I was about to respond when Julian turned back to Chloe. "Chloe, are you still painting? I've recently invested in a high-end arts exchange program. Massive funding, top-tier resources. It's perfect for a talented artist like you. Interested in a sit-down to discuss it." He spoke with an unquestionable confidence, as if I were nothing more than a piece of transparent furniture. The eyes of several nearby classmates drifted toward us, filled with a mix of envy and curiosity. Chloe looked uncomfortable. She glanced at me instinctively, her eyes pleading for an exit. She knew how much I loathed this kind of posturing. "That's very kind of you, Julian, but I'm really enjoying my creative freedom right now. I don't have any plans to join a formal project," Chloe declined, her voice soft but firm. "No rush, just think about it." Julian didn't miss a beat. He pulled a heavy, matte black business card from his pocket and held it out to Chloe, his fingers nearly brushing the back of her hand. "This is my private cell. Call me anytime." Chloe didn't reach for it. She just gave a faint smile. Seeing this, I reached out and took the card myself. The cardstock was expensive, the gold leaf logo glinting sharply under the light. I applied a bit of pressure, leaving a subtle crease in the corner. "We appreciate the offer, Mr. Sterling," I said, my tone flat but edged with steel. But Chloe's work has always been about following her heart, not the bottom line. The smile on Julian's face flickered, his contempt deepening. He gave me a long, hard look before turning to leave, dropping one last loaded comment. "Is that so? Well, everyone has to face reality eventually." As his back disappeared into the crowd, My heart felt like it was weighted with lead. I took a deep breath, my fingers tightening around the card. "Logan, I didn't mean for that to happen," Chloe said, her voice tinged with apology. "He's been like this. He's actually reached out through others before." "I know," I said, smoothing her hair, feeling a slight tremor in her shoulders. She wasn't lying. "He wants me for some international arts initiative. He said the compensation would be huge." Chloe frowned, her voice trailing off. "He hinted that if I joined, I'd never have to worry about money again. But something feels wrong." Her confusion acted like a spark, flipping a switch deep inside me. In an instant, the surrounding noise seemed to fall into mute. Julian's meaningful smirk, the flash of disdain in his eyes, and the holes in his logic flashed through my mind like a high-speed slideshow. The eye of insight, that college-era gift that had gone dormant during my years of stable domestic life, was now fully awake, triggered by a primal need to protect what was mine. I looked at the creased business card in my hand, feeling the texture of the paper. His arts project. It was a lie. On the drive home, the atmosphere in the car was heavy. Chloe leaned against the window, the city lights dancing across her face in a strobe of shadows. "Logan, am I bringing you trouble?" she asked softly. I reached out and took her cold hand. "Don't talk like that. You are never trouble." My voice was steady, but my focus was split between the road and the rearview mirror. Back at the party, while I appeared calm, my eye had been in overdrive. Julian's body language, the micro-expressions, even the rhythm of his breathing. I had captured it all, building a complex psychological profile in my mind. His arts initiative was no simple venture. I could smell the fraud on it. I remember back in college, Julian was a master at using visionary concepts to package himself and lure in people. Now, he had clearly evolved. His methods were more sophisticated. When we got home, Chloe took a hot shower and went to bed early. I went to the study and clicked on the desk lamp. Julian's card sat on the desk. I opened my laptop, my fingers flying across the keys. Julian Sterling, CEO of Sterling Tech. That was his public face. I began digging through various databases and back channels. Soon, small, discordant details began to surface. In the past year, Sterling Tech's investment portfolio had expanded aggressively into culture, film, and gaming. However, several of these projects had incredibly convoluted cash flows with vague profit sources. Specifically, this international arts initiative, it had massive PR, but almost zero reports of actual artists or works involved. My eye told me there was a rot beneath the surface. I even found that several of his overseas art foundations were tied to sensitive, offshore capital. This wasn't just a business deal. It was a meticulously crafted trap designed to pull in talented, influential artists like Chloe. I took a deep breath and stopped typing. Julian's goal wasn't just money. He wanted to pull Chloe's reputation and network into his orbit. And as for me, he was just waiting for the show to begin. The next morning, I went to work as usual. The air in the office felt thicker than normal. My assistant, Lydia Vance, met me with a worried expression. "Mr. Reed, we have a problem. There's been a leak in the core project data. Engineering is in a total panic." My heart sank. Julian was moving faster than I'd anticipated. He was already infiltrating my professional life. "What's the damage?" I asked, my mind racing. Lydia handed me a report. "We found this morning that our key parameters in user models seem to have been intercepted. Marketing says Sterling Tech just leaked news that their new product specs are a near-perfect match for ours." Sterling Tech, a subsidiary of Julian's empire. The eye of insight was now working like a high-speed processor, connecting the dots. From Julian's provocation at the reunion to his attempt to lure Chloe, and now the corporate leak. Every road led back to the same man. I scanned the office, my gaze finally landing on a young face in the engineering department, Leo Miller. He had been in secret contact with Julian's secretary recently. I'd already picked up on these cues through the eye. Leo was a recent grad, quiet but a brilliant coder. How did Julian get to him? I noticed his hand gripping his coffee mug, so hard his knuckles were white. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Lydia, go handle marketing. I'll deal with engineering," I said calmly. I didn't expose Leo. I didn't even change my expression. I knew that if Julian had breached the company, he likely had more than one pawn. If I outed Leo now, I just tipped my hand. I chose to play the long game. I called an all-hands meeting for the tech team, ostensibly to patch the leak. In reality, I guided them to obfuscate the remaining critical data while planting bait, files that looked vital but were actually dead ends. I decided to use his own momentum against him. Late at night, the office stayed lit. I sat at my computer, watching the data fluctuate on the screen, a cold smile touching my lips. Julian, You think you can reach into my world and control everything? You think I'm still just a regular guy you can push around? I caught Leo moving into a blind spot of the security cameras to make a call. It had to be Julian's secretary. I took a deep breath and hit enter. The false information was now being funneled through Leo. Wait for it, Julian. This is just the beginning. The company crisis began to quietly resolve itself under my countermaneuvers. What Julian was receiving was nothing but useless noise and smoke. I used the Leo connection to drop smoke bombs into Julian's field of vision, letting him believe he was winning. Meanwhile, our real core project was being moved to an encrypted offsite server. But Julian's offensive didn't stop there. 2 days later, a bombshell hit the art world. Julian Sterling announced a massive international art gala for the following week, inviting global elites. And Chloe Summers was listed as the guest of honor. The press release didn't hold back, hinting at a deep partnership between him and Chloe, using language that was intentionally ambiguous and suggestive. Logan, look at this. Chloe held her phone out, her face pale. On the screen, a vibrant Julian was standing at a press conference. Behind him was a massive poster, a blown-up version of one of Chloe's watercolors, with the word strategic partnership printed next to it. Is he insane? I told him no. Chloe's voice was a mix of anger and confusion. I took the phone. Julian's goal was clear. He wanted to create a public illusion of intimacy with Chloe to isolate her and strike at my reputation. He was trying to tie her to his sinking ship. He's not insane, I said, putting the phone down. My voice was chillingly calm. He's trying to destroy us, so he can pick through the wreckage for what he wants. Though I told me this gala was a facade. It was a money laundering operation dressed up in silk and champagne. As the guest of honor, Chloe would be his perfect human shield. What do we do? Chloe's voice trembled. She felt helpless. We don't fight him head on, I said, stepping toward her and taking her shoulders. We fight him with the truth. I laid out everything I had gathered. The risks of Julian's arts initiative, the suspicious funding, and the potential legal fallout. I broke down the moral and legal trap he was setting. Chloe listened, her face going from pale to ghostly. She had never imagined the world of fine art could hide such filth. So, he wants to use my name to legitimize a crime? She asked, disbelief in her voice. Exactly, but he didn't count on us being ready. We spent the next few hours planning our counterstrike. The International Art Gala arrived. The venue was sparkling, filled with the city's elite and a swarm of media. Julian moved through the room like a king, soaking up the flashes of the cameras. By his side was Chloe, dressed in an elegant, understated charcoal gown. She looked ethereal, drawing every eye in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, Julian said, taking the microphone. His voice boomed. Tonight, we are honored to have the world-renowned artist Chloe Summers with us. She is partnering with us to open a new chapter in the global art market. The room erupted in applause. Julian's gaze swept the crowd, looking for me. He knew I was there, but Chloe didn't follow the script. Thank you, Mr. Sterling, Chloe said, taking the mic. Her voice was clear and resonant. Tonight, I'm not here as a partner. I'm here as an advocate for the integrity of the arts, and I'd like to discuss a specific topic. The room went dead silent. Julian's smile froze. The value of art lies in its soul. But when art becomes a cloak for capital, or worse, a shield for illegal activity, we must be vigilant. Chloe's eyes swept the room. Her words were sharp. A true arts initiative should promote culture, not serve as a vehicle for opaque financial maneuvers or evading the law. Her words were like stones dropped into a still lake, sending out massive ripples. The reporters began to whisper, their cameras shifting focus from Julian to Chloe's defiant face. Friends, I've been told that if a project cannot transparently show its funding or follow international financial regulations, then it loses its sanctity. Chloe's voice grew even stronger. We must be careful about every partnership to protect our reputations and the holiness of the craft. She didn't name him, but every word was a direct hit on Julian's initiative. She cited specific legal standards for art trade and anti-money laundering protocols. Julian's face turned a violent shade of red. He wanted to cut her off, but he was trapped. If he stopped her, he'd prove her point. From the back of the room, our eyes met. She gave me a tiny smile, a glimmer of victory in her gaze. Beautifully done, Chloe, I thought. My protection wasn't about holding her back. It was about giving her the ammunition to win. The event that was supposed to be Julian's coronation turned into a public interrogation. His generous investor persona was crumbling under the weight of Chloe's speech. Julian ended the press conference abruptly. His smile was gone. As he walked past me, He leaned in, his eyes burning with a rage that could have consumed me. I knew he was past the point of reason. Sure enough, 2 days later, rumors started circulating within my company. Logan Reed is a hack who rode his boss's coattails. Logan's marriage is a sham. His wife is having an affair. There were even whispers that I was about to be downsized, while online trolls attacked Chloe's social media, accusing her of being a homewrecker. These rumors were surgical, designed to destroy my career, my reputation, and my marriage all at once. "Logan, look at these," Chloe said, her eyes red as she showed me her phone. The comments were disgusting. I felt a surge of fury, but I knew I had to stay cold. "Ignore them," I said, stroking her hair. "This is Julian's death rattle. He's cornered." The eye told me these rumors were being amplified by someone inside my own company. My boss, Mr. Whitaker, called me into his office. "Logan, there's a lot of noise lately, especially regarding you," Whitaker said, tapping his desk. "Some of the board members are questioning your performance." I knew what this was. Julian was using his influence in the Chicago business circle to squeeze me out. "Mr. Whitaker, do you actually have an issue with my work?" I asked, looking him straight in the eye. Whitaker hesitated. We had worked together for years. He sighed. "Your work is fine, Logan, but the company needs stability. This PR nightmare is a distraction." I knew that if I didn't stop this, Whitaker would sacrifice me for the greater good. "Give me 3 days," I said, my voice steady. "In 3 days, I'll make these rumors disappear and make the person behind them regret they ever started." Whitaker looked surprised. 3 days. Don't disappoint me." I walked out and immediately called an old college friend, Liam Bennett. He was a partner at a top-tier law firm specializing in corporate litigation. "Logan, I saw the news. What's going on?" Liam asked. "I need you to pull everything we can on Julian Sterling. Specifically, his use of his secretary to bribe employees at my firm to sabotage our projects." I kept my voice cold. "I want him buried." Liam was stunned. "Are you sure? That's Julian Sterling." "I'm sure," I said. "He crossed the line. It's time he learned what happens when you overreach." Next, I talked to Chloe. "Honey, I need your help. Julian's art project has victims. I need you to reach out to your network. Find the artists he's burned. We need their stories." Chloe didn't hesitate. "I'm on it. That monster isn't getting away with this." I looked at a photo of us on my phone. "Julian, you think you own the narrative? You think you can break me? You've underestimated us." The 3 days were a gauntlet. The cold looks at the office, the online vitriol, and Julian's increasingly bold smear campaign felt like a weight trying to pull me into the abyss. But I didn't blink. The eye was sharper than ever, helping me pinpoint Julian's weaknesses. Liam came through first. Using the digital breadcrumbs I'd found, he secured proof of the connection between Julian's secretary and Leo Miller. We had chat logs, Venmo transfers, and even a recorded call. It was a complete chain of evidence. Then Chloe called. She had found several artists Julian had exploited. He'd used their dreams of success to trap them in predatory contracts, often stealing their work and their profits. One young painter had lost everything and vanished from the scene. "Logan, they're ready to talk," Chloe said, her voice shaking with anger. "He's a vampire." "Good job, Chloe," I whispered. "I'll take it from here." On the 4th morning, I walked into Whitaker's office. He looked at me with a weary expression. "Logan, time's up. The board is—" I didn't say a word. I just slid an encrypted tablet across his desk. Whitaker opened the files. As he scrolled through the bribes, the logs, and the recording of Leo Miller selling us out, his face went white. Is this real?" he stammered. "Leo was a mole for Sterling." "Mr. Whitaker, do you think these rumors were an accident?" I asked. "Julian Sterling didn't just want to hurt me. He wanted to gut this company's core project and swallow us whole." Whitaker turned a deep shade of purple. He realized how close he'd come to losing everything. "I see. Logan, you've done us a massive service." "I have one more file," I said. I handed over the testimonies from the artists and the financial trail Chloe had uncovered. "I'm not giving this to the company. I'm giving it to the press. We fight fire with a goddamn hurricane." That afternoon, a headline exploded across the Chicago business and art journals. Sterling Tech CEO Julian Sterling accused of corporate espionage and artist fraud. Massive evidence leak points to criminal enterprise. The news detailed the theft of our company data and the predatory nature of the art initiative. The victims' stories were heartbreaking. The tide turned instantly. The trolls vanished, replaced by a public outcry. Julian was in his office, staring at his phone, his face gray. He never expected me to move this fast or this hard. "You thought you were playing chess against a novice, Julian," I thought, watching the news from my desk. "But I've been watching your every move." But it wasn't over. Julian was a cornered animal now. 2 days later, The mole Leo was taken away by the police. I had handed over everything. Julian was now facing more than just a bad Q4. He was looking at prison. Then, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Logan Reed, you'll pay for this. Your wife will be mine yet. G.S. A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't a business threat anymore. It was war. I called Chloe immediately. Stay inside. Don't go anywhere. I'm serious. Logan, what's happening? Chloe's voice was laced with fear. Julian is desperate. He's going to do something reckless. I said, I'm coming home. I didn't just talk. I hired a private security detail for Chloe, 2 former special ops guys, 24/7. I upgraded our home security to a military-grade system. Julian's next move was a different kind of dirty. Anonymous tips were sent to my company's board about my dark past. They dug up an old college disciplinary record, a fight I'd been in. They tried to paint me as a violent, unstable person. They told me Julian was grasping at straws. He was trying to destroy my credibility, so my evidence would look like a vendetta. Mr. Reed, these reports are bad for the board, Lydia said. I laughed. He thinks a college scrap is going to break me. I reached out to my old college advisor, who happily went on record to clarify that the fight was me protecting a student from a group of bullies. Then, I leaned into the press again. I gave the threatening message Julian sent me to the investigative journalist who broke the first story. The next day, from tech genius to desperate thug, Julian Sterling threatens victim's family. Julian's image was shredded. He was no longer a disgraced CEO. He was a criminal. My company's PR department finally stepped up, fully backing me and condemning Julian's malicious attacks. But then, Julian went for the nuclear option. One night, Chloe and I were in the living room. Suddenly, a deafening crash shattered the silence. A brick had come through the floor-to-ceiling window, followed by the sound of glass rain. Logan, Chloe screamed, grabbing my arm. I shielded her and looked out. 2 figures were running toward a black SUV. My security guys were already in pursuit. It's okay, I whispered, though my heart was pounding. It's Julian's men. The security team didn't catch them, but they found a gift on the lawn, a note with our names inside a black X. It was a threat on our lives. I didn't hesitate. I called the police and handed over the 4K security footage. I had predicted this escalation. I had already set the trap. Because Julian had used his own staff for gray tasks before, the police were able to identify the men in the SUV as his personal security detail. Arrests were made within hours. Julian Sterling was taken into custody for corporate espionage, felony harassment, and conspiracy to commit assault. The art initiative was revealed to be a front for a multi-million-dollar laundering scheme. Chloe stood with me at a press conference a few days later. She was now a spokesperson for artist rights. She spoke with a strength that moved everyone in the room. Justice won. Liam told me over the phone. Julian is done. They're denying bail. It's not just about winning, I said, looking at Chloe. It's about making sure he can never touch her again. Julian's fall was like an atomic bomb in our old college circle. The golden boy was in a jumpsuit, and the guy everyone had overlooked was the one standing tall. But we didn't just move on. Chloe decided to turn the tragedy into something beautiful. She founded the Logan Chloe Art Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to helping young artists navigate the business world without being exploited. What do you think of the name? She asked one evening. I love it, I said. As long as I'm the one protecting the boat, while you're the shore, a play on our names' meanings. My eye was sharper than ever. During the foundation setup, I used it to vet every partner and donor, ensuring no one like Julian could ever infiltrate her dream again. At the launch gala, Chloe stood in a white gown, looking like a beacon of light. Art is about freedom, she told the crowd. And we are here to guard that freedom. Our old classmates were there too. The same people who had snickered at us were now lining up to donate and offer their sincere congratulations. I watched them with a faint smile. I didn't need their praise. I knew exactly what they were. Then my boss, Mr. Whitaker, approached me. Logan, the company is launching a new AI art integration project. We want you and Chloe to lead it. You have the tech. She has the vision. It'll be the biggest thing in the industry. I saw the future in that moment. Tech and art. It was the perfect synergy. We'll consider it, Whitaker, I said. The project was a massive success. Within a year, we had revolutionized how artists worked with technology. My career hit a new peak. I was named Executive VP. Chloe became a national figure in the arts. But then, a flicker of darkness appeared on my radar. My eye picked up something odd. Julian, even from prison, was trying to reach out. He was bitter, his hatred growing like a weed in the dark. What is he up to? I wondered, looking at the encrypted messages my sources had intercepted. He was trying to coordinate with old, gray business associates. He wanted one last shot at destroying me. I didn't tell Chloe. I didn't want her to live in fear again. I decided to handle it myself. Liam called me with a warning. Logan, Julian is applying for medical parole. His lawyers found a loophole regarding a supposed heart condition. They have a lot of money behind them. I felt a surge of cold iron in my veins. He wants out, not on my watch. I used the eye to dig into the medical parole board and the doctor Julian was using. I found the loophole, a series of bribes and falsified records. I didn't go to the local cops. I went to the federal investigators handling his original fraud case. I gave them everything, the bribes, the fake heart scans, and the names of the corrupt officials involved. The response was thunderous. The FBI raided the medical clinic. Julian wasn't just staying in prison. He was hit with new charges of bribery and obstruction of justice. He was moved to a maximum security facility. He was never coming out. His empire was dismantled. His assets were seized to pay back the artists he'd defrauded. Everything he'd built was gone. A few months later, on a sunny Chicago afternoon, Chloe and I walked through our old college campus. Look, Logan, the ginkgo tree where we first met. It's grown so much, Chloe said, her face glowing. I felt a profound sense of peace. I had protected her. I had protected our life. Logan, she asked, seeing my expression. I was just thinking, I said, taking her hand. Everything we went through. It was worth it. My phone buzzed. It was a message from our old class group. Logan, Chloe, the 5-year reunion is next week. Everyone is dying to see you. I smiled at Chloe. Want to go? Only if you're by my side, she said. This time, there was no shadow of Julian Sterling. We returned as the people we were always meant to be. After the party, as we walked down the familiar campus path, I stopped under the ginkgo tree. I pulled out a small velvet box and dropped to one knee. Chloe, thank you for staying by me through the storm. Thank you for showing me what's worth guarding. I want to spend every day of the rest of my life being your shield. Will you marry me all over again? Chloe's eyes filled with tears. She nodded vigorously, reaching for the ring. It sparkled under the campus lights, just like our future. We held each other tight. My eye of insight told me the truth. Real happiness isn't about crushing your enemies. It's about holding on to the person you love and bringing a little more justice into a dark world. Story complete.